வணக்கம். அமெரிக்க தேர்தல் ரொம்ப பரபரப்பா உலக அரங்கில் எதிர்பார்க்கக்கூடிய ஒரு களமாக இருக்கிறது. அனைவருமே எதிர்பார்க்குறாங்க. கமலா ஹாரிஸ், ட்ரம்ப், பைடன் ஒதுங்கிட்டாரு. கமலா ஹாரிஸ் ஜெயிச்சுருவாங்களா? ட்ரம்ப் ஒரு பாசிசவாதி. அவர் ஒரு நிற வெறியர். அவர் வந்தாங்கன்னா இந்தியர்களுக்கு ஆபத்து, என்ஆர்ஐ பீப்பிளுக்கு ஆபத்து. இது மாதிரியான கருத்துக்கள் தொடர்ச்சியா உண்டு. அவர் போன முறை வெற்றி பெற்ற போதும் இது போன்ற விமர்சனங்களை தாண்டி தான் வெற்றி பெற்றார். அது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் அவர் ஒரு மேல் சாவனிஸ்ட், இது மாதிரி பல்வேறு விஷயங்கள் சொல்லுகின்ற இந்த நேரத்தில் தான் ட்ரம்ப்பா கமலா ஹாரிஸா என்கின்ற போது தற்போது ட்ரம்ப்புக்கான ஆதரவு பெருகி வருகிறது. கடந்த முறை கருத்து கணிப்பில் கமலா ஹாரிஸ் கொஞ்சம் முன்னாடி இருந்தாங்க. இப்போ பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ட்ரம்ப்புக்கான ஆதரவு நிலைங்கிறது கொஞ்சம் கூடிக்கொண்டே வருதுன்னு ஒரு தகவல் வருது. இந்த நிலையில் அமெரிக்காவில் இருந்தே நமக்கு தகவல்கள் பெற்றால் எப்படி இருக்கும், என்ன உண்மையான அரசியல் நிலவரம் அப்படிங்கிறத அமெரிக்காவில் இருக்கக்கூடிய ட்ரம்பின் அரசியல் ஆலோசகரே பேட்டி கொடுத்தா எப்படி இருக்குங்கிற அடிப்படையில் தான் நம்ம உமாபதி சார், நம்ம ஜீவா டுடேயினுடைய உங்கள் எல்லாருக்கும் நன்கு அறிந்த சிறப்பு விருந்தினராக இருக்கக்கூடிய நமது ஜீவா டுடேயின் உமாபதி தமிழன் அவர்கள் ட்ரம்பின் ஆலோசகரை தொடர்பு கொண்டு அவரிடமே பேட்டி எடுத்திருக்கிறார். ட்ரம்பின் நிலவரம் என்ன, கமலா ஹாரிஸ் நிலவரம் என்ன என்பது குறித்து பல்வேறு கேள்விகளை கேட்டிருக்காரு. அது அவரே சொல்கிறது சுவைபட இருக்குது. நீங்கள் கேட்கலாம், இது எப்படினாலும் பயஸ்டாக தானே இருக்கும், ட்ரம்ப்புக்கு ஆதரவாக தானே இருக்கும். ட்ரம்ப்புக்கு ஆதரவாகவே இருந்தாலும் ஒரு ட்ரம்ப் ஆதரவாளர் என்ன சொல்கிறாரு, நேரடியாக ஒரு அமெரிக்க களம் குறித்து அமெரிக்காவில் போட்டியிடுகின்ற அதிபராக வாய்ப்பு இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு ஒரு அதிபரினுடைய நேரடியான ஆலோசகர் இப்படி பேசியிருப்பது அப்படிங்கிறது ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய விஷயம். இந்த நேர்காணலை பாருங்கள். நமக்கு இன்னும் நிறைய புதிய பரிணாமங்களையும் உலக அரசியலை எப்படி அணுக வேண்டும்ங்கிற அடுத்த கட்ட பார்வையும் தருவதற்கு கண்டிப்பாக இந்த நேர்காணல் உதவியாக இருக்குங்கிறதே என்னுடைய பார்வை. நேர்காணலை பாருங்க.
நம்ம இப்போ ரொம்ப முக்கியமான ஒரு விஷயம் பார்க்க போறோம். என்ன அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா, அமெரிக்கால அதிபர் தேர்தல் நெருங்கி கொண்டிருக்கிறது. இன்னும் 4 நாட்கள் தான் அதிபர் தேர்தல் நடைபெறுவதற்கு இருக்கிறது. அதுல ஒரு பக்கம் பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா திரு டொனால்ட் ட்ரம்ப் போட்டியிடுகிறார். இன்னொரு பக்கம் பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா பைடன் போட்டியிடுவதாக இருந்தது. இப்ப கமலா ஹாரிஸ் போட்டியிடுகிறார். இன்னும் 4 நாட்களில் தேர்தல் நெருங்கி கொண்டிருக்கிறது. இப்ப பாத்தீங்கன்னா ரொம்ப முக்கியமான விஐபி, முன்னாள் அதாவது என்ன அப்படின்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா எனர்ஜியோட மினிஸ்டர், நம்ம ஊர்ல மினிஸ்டர்னு சொல்லுவோம், யூஎஸ்ல செக்ரட்டரி அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. நம்மளோட இணைந்திருக்கிறவர் திரு பாட் மார்காய்ஸ் என்கிற ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய மனிதன், மிகப்பெரிய ஒரு அரசியல்வாதி. தற்போது தேர்தலில் ட்ரம்ப் அவர்களுக்கு அட்வைசராக இருக்கக்கூடியவர் திரு பாட் மார்காயஸ். இந்திய தொலைக்காட்சிகள், குறிப்பாக தமிழக தொலைக்காட்சிகளில் முதல் முறையாக இந்த யூடியூப்ல முதல் முறையாக அவர் நமக்கு பேட்டி அளிக்க தயாராக இருக்கிறார். நீண்ட முயற்சியின் பிறகு அவர் நம்மோட கனெக்ட் ஆயிருக்காரு. அவருக்கு இந்த தேர்தல் குறித்தும் ட்ரம்போட வெற்றி வாய்ப்பு எப்படி இருக்கிறது, கமலா ஹாரிஸ் வெற்றி வாய்ப்பு இருக்கிறதா, ட்ரம்புக்கு வெற்றி வாய்ப்பு இருக்கிறதா என்பதை குறித்தெல்லாம் கேட்போம். வணக்கம் சார். வணக்கம் மிஸ்டர் பாட் மார்காயஸ். வெல்கம்.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, it's also a very pleasure for us to see you in our studio. Thank you very much for joining with us.
We will get rid of Biden. We will replace him with Kamala Harris, but we have $2 billion to spend. We will spend it all and make her a star. And that was back in January that he predicted this. And that's exactly what happened. They waited. They saw that Trump was leading Biden. They knew that Biden was not mentally capable anymore, and so they staged the debate between him and Trump.
Right. After Kamala Harris was announced as a candidate, after saying all these things about Biden, that everything is true. But after Kamala Harris came in, how is the situation there?
So after she came in, after they pushed him out and she came in, they spent $1 billion in a month trying to make her a star. And at the beginning, it started to work. People said, "Oh, she's nice. It's not Biden." The young people came back. The African Americans who came back, the Black Americans who didn't like Biden at all, they came back. But then after about the beginning or middle of September, she has started to fall and fall and fall. And she's just continued to fall. And at the same time, Trump has continued to climb. So the situation now is that Trump is leading her by about 2 percentage points, maybe 3 percentage points in the national polls. And in the 7 swing states, he's leading her in 6 of those 7 swing states.
Oh,
He's
in the swing
looking
states,
very good.
In swing states, Trump is leading in 6 states, right?
Yes, in 6 of the 7.
Okay.
And
So
he is
what,
doing very well in other states like New Hampshire and Virginia that are not even on the list of swing states, but it's looking like he's going to win Virginia and New Hampshire as well.
in last election also, the same trend was went on there at that time. Finally, Trump get lost in that election. How this election will be? This time will be?
This time, I think things are a lot different this time. In 2020, it was in the middle of the Wuhan virus, the COVID lockdowns, and the Democrats used the occasion of the lockdowns to say, we can't vote in person, we have to vote by mail in state after state after state. And they flooded the polling districts with mail-in ballots, many of which were fraudulent ballots. But once a ballot is opened and entered into the pile of other ballots, you can't tell the difference from one that was cast rightfully and one that was cast fraudulently. And so there was nothing we could do. We knew the election had been stolen. We knew that it had been taken away by fraud, but we couldn't prove it anymore because the ballots were already there. So this time, the Republicans have been very careful about preventing fraud any place that we can. That we need to back up a little, because in America, we don't have a single presidential election. We don't have a national vote where everybody votes. We have state elections. The 50 states and the District of Columbia all vote, and 3 territories besides, all vote, and each one of them gets a weighted influence on the Electoral College. And even those state-by-state votes are conducted not by the state government, but by the city and county governments. So we're undergoing thousands of local elections right now that will be assembled into state totals, and then those states will vote as the Electoral College. I'm sure your viewers are very sophisticated and they understand.
So everywhere in India, the same pattern, but dates will be changed. But in US, there is different type of some places they are using ballot papers, some places are using EVMs, and so many things are there. So why it is like this in US?
That's right. And furthermore, a vote in a state like Montana, Montana is a very big state geographically, but it only has maybe 1 million residents in it and 500,000 voters. Well, those 500,000 voters have 3 electoral votes, and a state like California has 30 million voters. It has 54 electoral votes, but there's still a balance. You have to get 270 electoral votes from the 50 states.
50 states,
and,
okay.
Right. It's not a national popular vote. There's an element that takes into account the population of a state, but it's not a national popular vote. It's a state by state vote. And so we know how 43 of the states are going to vote. They're either majority Republican or they're majority Democrat. But 7 of them are 50-50. They could go either way. And so we call those the swing states. And those 7 have enough votes.
7 swing states, okay.
Yeah, so whichever way they go will win. And Trump is leading among 6 of those 7 swing states. And there are 2 other states, at least, that are not counted in those 7 that were expected to go for the Democrats, but are now going for Donald Trump. And it suggests that Donald Trump is rising and rising and rising. And the closer we get to election day, the more people start voting for Trump. And there are lots of reasons for that. Chief among them, though, are the first generation legal immigrants to the United States. A lot of them traditionally voted for the Democrats. This year, they're voting for Donald Trump. They don't like Kamala Harris. They don't like the Marxist tendencies of the Harris-Walz ticket. They don't like the woke, so-called woke policies that mix up boys and girls and let boys into girls' showers and bathrooms and on girls' sports teams and things like that. They don't like that, and they're voting for Donald Trump because they're voting for the party, the Republican Party, that is preserving what they came to America to experience in the first place.
So here in India, Kamala Harris' ancestors are from India. So even though generally in the Indian population, educated population, they like Mr. Trump more than Kamala Harris, because even though she's her ancestors are from India. So what is the situation there in US? Who's having green card? Who's having other country residents? They are settled there in US. How they are seeing Mr. Trump there?
Yeah, it's not just Mrs. Harris that has Indian heritage. Also, the wife of J.D. Vance, Mr. Trump's running mate, his candidate for vice president, his wife is Telugu, and she is closer to her heritage than Kamala Harris is to hers. Kamala Harris grew up in Canada. J.D. Vance's wife grew up in an Indian community in the United States, and she's still part of it and intimate with it.
Yeah.
Most of the ethnic voters, most of the first generation immigrant voters are backing Mr. Trump. There are a few exceptions, but most of them are backing. And these are populations that previously backed Democrats. I'll give you some examples. Korean Americans usually vote about 60 to 70% Democrat. This year, it's 80% Republican. Vietnamese Americans have always voted heavily Republican.
What is the reason for that, sir? What's the reason for this change?
The real reason is that they think that the Democrat Party has become a little bit crazy. They've gone so far to the left, they're captured by interest groups that care most about abortion. That's the number one issue that Harris is running on. Secondly, they care about transgender policies. They want to take children, convince children that they are transgender, and then give them hormones or operations to change the way they look. Literally, I hope you don't mind my being so candid, but they literally cut off body parts so that they can pretend that a boy looks like a girl or a girl looks like a boy. They'll do this to people who are 13, 14, 16 years old, who maybe have a little mental illness that they eventually will grow out of. But they take them when they're that young, and they do it. And there are states that are passing laws. California is one. Washington State is another, that have passed laws that allow the state to take the children away from the parents. If a child of 9, for example, says, "I don't think I'm a girl, I think I'm a boy," and if the parents don't say, "Yes, you're right, you're a boy, we'll make you a boy," the state can take that child away from her parents and turn her into what looks like a boy. It's a terrible thing to do, and they're doing it to children. And things like that are bothering them. They're also upset at the illegal immigration, because what we're talking about here are first generation legal immigrants who waited many years to get an entry visa into the United States, who waited 5 years. You know, they got their green card, then they waited 5 years to become a citizen. They took the citizenship exam. They couldn't get a work permit until they had their green card. Many of them came here with nothing, and they built beautiful lives by hard work, working together. And they're looking at people streaming across the border, and they're being given $5,000 a month in subsidies, plus free rent, plus a free cell phone, plus free medical care. And that's something that all the rest of us are paying for. And the legal immigrants are especially upset that somebody could just walk across the border and get more privileges than they had for years, and they get it their first day. And they're also upset at the high crime when somebody enters the country illegally, and maybe they don't speak the language and they're not familiar. Where do they go? They find people of their own ethnicity who speak their language, and they come and ask them for money. And if they're criminals, they attack them. The Venezuelan gangs started attacking Venezuelans and South Americans and Central Americans. Now they've become so powerful, they're attacking everybody. But they are predators, and they prey on people of their own nationality and ethnicity first. And so the legal immigrants are feeling the pain of the crime even more than somebody like me who lives in a suburb somewhere.
But you are saying like this, but the people living in the US, in border areas, in South America border or something, in the Mexico border or Canadian border, they will be aware of this. But the people living in other states, in 50 states, some 6 or 7 states are in border, I think. So in the center states, how the people are aware of this problem?
That is an excellent question. And I'll tell you, until about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, they were not aware of it in the center states. So they knew it was happening. They'd see it on the news, but they didn't feel it. It didn't affect them.
Right.
But the Biden administration has been moving great masses of people into central states, especially into states that are swing states, because their purpose in bringing in millions of undocumented immigrants, illegal aliens, is they give them paperwork and they give them a driver's license, and they allow them to vote with a driver's license, even though they're not citizens yet. And so they're using these illegal immigrants to vote for the Democrats, to try to, and they especially brought them into those 7 swing states. They brought them into my state, Virginia, during the Obama administration. Virginia was a fairly safely Republican state, but the Obama administration brought in so many illegal immigrants and gave them the right to vote that Virginia became a very strongly Democrat state, and the Republicans gave up on it until this year. When the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, was the one who started it, and then the governor of Florida followed up. What they started doing about 2 years ago, they said, listen, we're getting all of these illegal immigrants, and all these leftist cities controlled and run by Democrats, they say, just deal with it. So they started sending them on airplanes and buses to New York City, to Chicago, to Minneapolis, to Martha's Vineyard, where all the richest of the Democrats live, the richest leftists live. They sent them up there. And then the Democrats started freaking out and saying, well, we can't handle all these people. Well, what they did was they nationalized the problem.
So you say that they are doing only for vote politics, only for elections. They are to get votes. They are doing like this.
That's what they're doing. That is their main purpose. Their main purpose. they are trying to introduce a Marxist government in the United States. There are not enough Americans, either native-born Americans or legally immigrated Americans, that will vote for that. Most of the people who came here from other countries came from countries that have a socialist or a communist, either a government or a strong attitude of socialism or Marxism. They came to get away from that. And here,
but there is a talk in US or in some other countries, even in China or in India. If once Mr. Trump come again, he will block other foreign immigrants.
Yes.
Legal immigrants like from India and China. So
he will not block.
They are showing.
Yeah, no, he won't block the legal ones. The legal immigrants love Trump, and Trump loves legal immigrants. If you saw that that rally in Madison Square Garden on Sunday night, you look at that crowd. That was not an overwhelmingly white Anglo-Saxon crowd. There were tons of people there of all different colors, all different nationalities, all different languages. I am an election, a party official in my home state of Virginia. I have hundreds of volunteers that I help schedule to work the early polls. We stand outside the polling places and we see the voters come, and we can tell who are the Democrats and who are the Republicans because we talk to them. And if they like us and they talk to us, then we know they're Republicans. If they are rude and turn away, we know they're Democrats. Well, the Democrats are overwhelmingly white people. The Republicans, white people, the Democrats are overwhelmingly white people and some black people and some Hispanic. But the Republicans are white, Hispanic, black, Asian, African, anything you can think
Mongolian,
of. Exactly. I know when I see a voter walk up, I've learned this year, I look, and if it is a non-white voter, I know the chances are 70, 80, 90% that voter is a Republican.
There are many questions about the protection given to Mr. Trump, the former president of the world's largest superpower, US. Why there are so much of assassination attempt on Trump? What do you think about this? Does it show the incompetence of the American Secret Service, or the opposition party to Trump is trying to do something against him?
I think both of those things are true. I think the Secret Service was shown to be incompetent, especially in Butler, Pennsylvania. There is no way you can explain that away other than incompetence. The Secret Service has been eroded over the last several years, and they did not send their best agents to protect Mr. Trump. You saw their performance, and
because
if you
small
look,
boy is trying to
yes,
made an attempt to kill Mr. Trump. He is the ex-president of the US. There's a superpower.
And a small boy gets up there, a 19, 20-year-old kid gets up there with a rifle, and people are shouting at the police saying, there's a guy up there with a rifle, and the police are not doing anything about it. And the Secret Service aren't even around. It was the local police who found him and warned the Secret Service, and it was a local police sniper who heard it over his radio, got into position and killed the assassin. But also it is the fault of the opposition party. They stand up and they call Trump a fascist, and they say that he's a threat to democracy. I can't think of a bigger threat to democracy than trying to put your opponent in jail, trying to remove your opponent from the ballot, trying to take the money away from your opponent with faulty, frivolous lawsuits and corrupt judges that impose
Yeah.
unheard of fines for things that weren't even crimes until Mr. Trump, refusing to give him adequate protection, and then standing up and calling him Hitler and calling him a danger. That's an invitation to every crazy person out there to try to kill him. And on top of that, we come back to where we started in this interview. Their candidate, the Democrat candidate, has not received a single vote. Nobody voted for her for president. Nobody voted for her for president when she ran 4 years ago, and nobody liked her, nobody wanted her, nobody voted for her, and now she is the nominee of a major party, and she's talking about democracy. I mean, please. So yeah, it's this her entire campaign theme for the last 10 days of the election is Trump is Hitler. Trump is Hitler. That's all she's saying, no matter what anybody asks her. She's not given any policy proposal. And so, yeah, it's a real problem. It's a strong concern. Tens of millions, more than 100 million Americans pray for President Trump every day, every night for his safety. And I think we'll see. I think we've already seen the power of prayer. And
through legal, 1 year before they filed so many cases against Mr. Trump.
It's shocking.
In a simple way, in a simple court. So they raised so many legal issues against Mr. Trump. Again, after that, they are using arms against Trump twice. 2 times attempt was made against Mr. Trump.
But he's strong. But he is so strong. This would have stopped any other person, any other human. This would have stopped them. But Trump is so strong, and he's making it clear that he's doing this out of love for America. He's a billionaire. He doesn't have to be president. He doesn't need this. He's not doing it for himself. He's doing it because he loves America, and he feels like if he doesn't save it, nobody will save it. And you know, we're worried about election fraud. We're worried that they will cheat. And so let me make a plea to everybody who sees your show, who is an American citizen, that they vote. Please go vote. Please show up. Don't think, oh, I don't care one way or the other. No, you have to. Don't listen to me saying Trump is winning and say, oh, it's okay, he'll win. We have to win by 5 or 6 points, and we have to win in almost every state, because if we don't, they will steal the election. And if we don't win by a huge margin, they will create unrest. Violent mobs will be in the street protesting President Trump.
Last election result.
Like in 2016. It has to be an overwhelming election so the mobs say, oh, we'd better stay home.
How will Pope's recent comment on this election voting? Mr. Pope made a comment 1 month before.
Yes, yeah. I don't think it had a very big impact, because he said something negative about the Democrats and something that could be called negative about Donald Trump as well. He didn't say it clearly either way. So I don't think there was enough so that if you're a Catholic and you're listening to the Pope for guidance and you like Trump, you heard what you needed there to say Harris is bad. And if you're a Catholic and you're a Democrat and you like Harris, you heard enough to say Trump is bad. I think the thing that will affect Catholic voters more than anything else is, number one, Harris's absolute devotion to abortion. It's not just a matter of letting a woman who is in trouble end her pregnancy as soon as she knows she's pregnant. The Democrats are pushing for abortion right up until the moment of birth, the 9th month of pregnancy, when everybody in the world agrees that's a baby inside there. That's 1 day, 5 minutes, 2 weeks away from being a baby born and beautiful and a human life. they want to be able to abort that baby. And so that I think will influence more Catholics than what the Pope said. And the other thing is that dinner, the Al Smith dinner in New York 2 weeks ago, there's a long tradition in American politics that every 4 years, the two presidential candidates come together with all of the media and all the political elites, and they have sort of a gentle little happy, fun fight where they fight with each other by telling jokes about each other and telling jokes about themselves, and it's been a tradition for, I don't know, close to 100 years, 80 years, and Harris did not attend. That was a blatant snub to Catholics, and it was the beginning of her really steep decline, because she lost almost all the Catholic voters that had been supporting her because she didn't go to that dinner. She was afraid if she went there, she would get criticized by pro-abortion groups and by LGBT groups, that they would be upset because she was there with the Catholics. And I think that is affecting not just Catholic voters, but voters of faith, whether it's other Christians or people of faith, whether it's Hindu or Muslim or Jewish. They see that she is opposed to religion and to religious faith, and they just don't trust her.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining with us, sir. Thank you very much. Nandri, vanakkam.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. I find you a delightful host, and I look forward to a future relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.